If you're an introverted business professional, this episode is for you. There's a common misconception that only extroverts thrive in entrepreneurship, and today we're here to unveil the undercover geniuses who prove otherwise. Just look at Mark Zuckerberg and Elon Musk. They're like introvert superstars. If you're an introvert, we want to encourage you not to let fear hold you back and provide some valuable tips on using your strengths to your advantage. Get ready to unleash your introvert superpowers because the business world is about to feel the quiet thunder. Ready or not, business world, here we come.
Lady bosses, are you working even after putting the kids to bed but still not getting results?
Are you tired of spending money on ads that aren't getting engagement?
Do you feel burdened that you aren't fulfilling your purpose in life because you are so consumed with work?
I'm your host, Brooke Boltz. I'm an attorney and founder of Boltz Legal. I started my business and in 1 year was bringing in 7 figures and am now bringing in multi-7 figures.
And I'm your co-host, Rachel Boltz, owner of Boltz Media. I've helped many businesses build their online presence and increase their revenue through digital marketing.
Want to hear how we did it?
We are here to help you achieve your goals personally, professionally, and spiritually.
So kick off your high heels, sit back, and let's ignite that passion.
We're Miss Biz, where we're putting the Miss in biz.
Let's get biz done.
Today's podcast episode topic was suggested by our good friend Nick Wagner with Roof Crafters. There is a myth that states that only extroverts can succeed in business. So in today's episode, we're going to be debunking that myth and offering helpful tips to help introverted entrepreneurs.
So everybody knows that entrepreneurs are aggressive, outgoing risk takers who take no prisoners. Wrong. This stereotype is flawed because introverts are not necessarily quiet or shy. What makes them different is that they tend to be more introspective and gain energy from their alone time.
According to Dr. Jennifer Conwheeler, the author of The Introverted Leader, Building on Your Quiet Strength, it's kind of like a battery they recharge. She states, and then they can go out into the world and connect really beautifully with people.
So Rachel, what do you consider yourself, an introvert or an extrovert?
I consider myself a little bit of both. I'm probably mostly on the extroverted scale, but I do have a lot of introverted tendencies and qualities.
What are some of your introverted tendencies?
My introverted tendencies are I really like alone time. Back in the day, I used to be at every single evening activity that I could participate in. And nowadays, I just really enjoy being alone. I really enjoy being able to spend time with my children. I go to bed at like 9 o'clock. So things of that nature. And then also, I really do prefer having like those one-on-one personal interactions with people. I would much rather go to dinner with someone than go to a huge networking event, although I will, but I would prefer the one-on-one interaction versus, just kind of like speed networking for entrepreneurs. So how about you? If you enjoy the Miss Biz podcast but still have questions or need advice, we have some exciting news for you. Join us for Miss Biz Connects. Miss Biz Connects is a weekly 1-hour Zoom call on Fridays at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time.
This is 1 hour each week dedicated to you. We want to meet you and put our brains together to help you grow personally, professionally, and spiritually.
To access the meeting link, visit us on our social media pages at Miss Biz Podcast or send us an email to missbizpod@gmail.com.
Join us this Friday and let's grow the Miss Biz Nation.
So first, I would have considered you full extrovert from my perception, because you just seem so comfortable with people in general, whether in big crowds or one-on-one. You just seem so comfortable with people, and maybe that's because that's how I was defining introvert and extrovert, was not so much about the alone time to recharge, and this is kind of a new definition from what I've been accustomed to using in the past. What would you guess that I was from what you know of me?
I would guess that you are a full-blown extrovert.
That's hilarious, because I always considered myself a full-blown introvert. Why would you think that I was an extrovert?
Because you are the type of person that when you go on stage and you do any type of public speaking event, you dominate it. You dominate it with confidence. You get the crowd actively engaged. Also, when you walk in a room where there's sometimes hundreds of people, you just seem to flawlessly be able to engage in conversation with them and just really seem to enjoy doing it.
You are too kind, because I will say with being on a stage that I'm more comfortable on a stage than I am in a crowd of a bunch of people. Being on the stage, I think it comes with my legal training and why being a lawyer is such a great profession for me, because if I'm well prepared and rehearsed, then being on stage or being in a courtroom in front of a judge or a jury or even an audience in a business setting, that is one of the most exciting things for me. So that part of me, I think, is extroverted. But on the day-to-day, when you say, like, when you used to get off work, you used to like to go out and hang out with people, that has never been me. Like, the moment I got out of class or I got out of work, I just wanted to go home and be alone. For as far back as I can remember, like, I just wanted to really kind of be by myself. And even now with a family of 5, if there's a rare occasion where my husband takes the kids and they go somewhere for even just a few hours, I'm like, having the house to myself and just kind of getting to just be alone. I don't even know how to describe it, but the rejuvenation I feel from just kind of being by myself and recharging is something I look forward to and enjoy. I never been a kind of person who was like, I feel lonely. Mm-hmm. I could be home for a week and still not feel lonely, really, because it just feels good to be alone sometimes. I now have kind of, when you have a family, they kind of become, I don't know, there's something natural in you that makes you enjoy that time with your family. Yes. So even if you're introverted, you don't miss so much the alone time because you just love being with your family Absolutely. So much as well. Now my alone time is more in the car, on a car ride or something like that. And that I use that time to recharge. But I would consider myself an introvert, so it's hilarious to me that you consider me an extrovert. I think it's been with practice and education and trainings that I've gone through that have allowed me to take on some of those more extroverted skills and be, comfortable with them.
It's estimated that approximately 25 to 40% of the population are introverted. And something that I found really interesting when just kind of researching the topic for today's podcast was most billionaires are introverts. I read a couple different sources that said 98% of billionaires are introverted. I don't know if that fact is 100% correct because I can't verify the source. But I thought that was an interesting statistic. So if you're introverted, don't let that stop you from achieving your success.
And I had no idea there were so many billionaires who were introverted, but it kind of makes sense because when you have that kind of brilliance, brilliant ideas, it makes sense that those would come to you when you're kind of spending time alone. Mm-hmm. If you're constantly surrounded by other people and, things that are drawing your attention, then coming up with those great ideas and strategizing your new action plan and things like that, sometimes you just kind of need to be alone to come up with those ideas. Some of the billionaires that we are familiar with who happen to be introverts are Mark Zuckerberg, Elon Musk, Warren Buffett, Bill Gates, and even Larry Page, the co-founder of Google.
And introversion and extroversion, they exist on a spectrum. So most people fall somewhere in between, in the middle. And you don't have to be an extrovert to succeed as an entrepreneur. And that's because building business success is about making smart decisions and solving problems.
There are many advice columnists out there who would suggest just faking it. If you're an introvert, just fake it till you make it. But instead of pretending to be an extrovert, understand the way your introversion can play to your advantage. Also, 25 to 40% of the population are introverts. So you're going to relate to other introverts if you are authentic with who you are and honest about who you are. Those other people who are similar are going to really relate to your genuineness on who you are. Business success is about making smart decisions and solving problems. So use who you are to make the most of it. Make the most of who you are rather than trying to hide it or pretend to be somebody else.
Yeah. There's nothing worse than trying to be someone that you're not. And instead of trying to work so hard to really not be able to flourish in that role, you can really focus on your strengths and use them to your advantage. So according to research, introverts display some very specific quality traits and character traits that make them successful business owners. And the first trait is creative thinking. So there's a link between introversion and creativity. Introverts express creativity through their work. So for example, Steve Wozniak, the co-founder of Apple, said, "Most inventors and engineers that I've met are like me. They are shy and they live in their heads. They are almost like artists. In fact, the very best of them are artists." Is it fun or dumb?
Is it glam or sham?
Dope or nope? Welcome to Dope or Nope. This is where we want to hear from you regarding whether you think this item is dope or nope. So today we are talking about business gifting, specifically a lightning bolt lamp. So if you're listening to the audio, you'll want to make sure that you check out this video on social media so you can see exactly what we're talking about today.
The lamp is shaped like a lightning bolt, and this is something that I send to clients when their case settles. It comes with a card that says, "You have taken on the challenge of going up against a monstrous insurance company, and you have prevailed. And for that reason, we are giving you the Bolts Legal Badass Award." And the lamp also has imprinted on it, Bolts Legal Badass. So do you like it? Is it dope or nope?
And that makes sense to me also because creativity is so important to business growth, especially when it comes to marketing and advertising. You want to set yourself apart. You want to be different. And the best way to do that is to come up with creative ideas that aren't the same as what everybody else is doing. So if you're an introverted person who spends a lot of time alone recharging, being in your head and thinking of new ideas, it makes sense to me that you would come up with these creative marketing strategies that would be successful. Now, maybe you're not always the best person to implement them because it's not so comfortable to you to maybe be on the screen or be in front of people or be making the reel, but coming up with those creative ideas and being able to create the action plan on how to put them into place seems like that would be really important in growing a business and something that introverts would be great at. Introverts also have passion for ideas that makes them great at business. Introverts focus on ideas rather than power or attention. They build alliances and networks to make ideas happen. So they're not the lone wolf out there just trying to do things out of their own strength and do things alone. They build those networks and alliances with other people. Entrepreneurial focus on company success over personal glory is another key characteristic of introverts, in that they are able to put the success of the company over their own personal glory or their own personal fame. And always, when you're able to humble yourself and put others above yourself, that is always going to be a successful trait in building a business.
It's funny that you just mentioned humble, because that is actually the next thing on the list is humbleness, great listeners, and being natural problem solvers. So introverts excel at listening and empathizing. They really value in dealing with clients and employees. They enjoy that one-to-one interaction, and they're able to build really strong connections as a result. Introverts also remain calm and analyze the situation. So they're going to be less likely to blow up or kind of just, wave the white flag, for lack of a better term. They're going to be able to really hone in and sit there and strategize the best solution for the situation.
Introverts also tend to be thoughtful decision makers. They take time to process problems during their alone time. They appreciate that solitude aids their entrepreneurial journey.
They also just really take the time to strategize. I think out of everything that we've listed in terms of strengths, I think the strategy is kind of one of the biggest strengths that they have. So if you're an introvert, don't let the fear of being around a large crowd stop you from really achieving your goals. There are so many other strengths that just come natural for you that can help you. So if you are an introverted business owner, here are some valuable tips to help you navigate the business world and leverage your own qualities for success. And the first one is embrace your introversion. Recognize that being introverted, it's not a weakness, but a valuable trait that brings unique perspectives and skills to the table.
Also, play into your strengths. Focus on your natural abilities, such as active listening, thoughtful communication, and strategic thinking. Use these strengths to your advantage in networking and decision making.
And use your knack to build deep connections. So network intentionally. Attend smaller, focused events where you can engage in meaningful conversations. Quality interactions, they matter much more than quantity. Networking is all about building quality relationships, and introverts tend to focus on learning more about the people that they want to meet rather than just making small talk.
And along those same lines, instead of trying to engage in numerous surface level interactions, concentrate on cultivating meaningful relationships with a select group of clients, partners, or collaborators. I heard a friend say recently, who's a very successful marketer, find your people. So many times we think to be successful in business, we need to have this huge quantity of people who are sending us referrals and who we are have these relationships with, when in reality there may be a huge pool of people out there, but if you can find your people, meaning find the people who you relate to the most, who you can build those friendships with, who are also in critical positions, who are golden geese, as we've spoken about before, who want to work with you because you're friends and you're like-minded. That's really what it takes. And as an introvert, you can find your people and be incredibly successful without having to have a ton of surface level conversations with just hundreds of people.
Another effective tip would be to leverage your online platforms. So take advantage of social media, take advantage of virtual events, engage in online communication to network and market your business without the pressure of those face-to-face interactions.
Yes. Hence the online dating world where you
terrible.
You just swipe, and you can have these interactions and build an entire relationship without ever having to come face to face with people. I think maybe even people who tend to be on the extroverted side of the spectrum sometimes have become more introverted because of how online focused our lives have become. I mean, social media, social interactions, we now can do basically everything through Google Meet or Zoom or just online interactions. So it's a great world for introverts. There's a lot of options available to you to build a business if being face-to-face isn't comfortable for you.
I think it depends on your definition of great when it comes to online dating, because
I'll take the advice from you there. The online dating came around after I was already married, so I never really got to experience that. But looks like it could be fun. No?
We'll save that for another podcast episode, because that one is pretty in-depth. You know we're all about that case, no trouble. All about that case, no trouble. All about that case, no trouble. All about that case.
At Bolts Legal, we are all about your case. Text or call to schedule a free consultation for all your legal needs. boltslegal.com.
So also you can team up with someone else, and this is a great life tip in general. Wherever your weaknesses are, look for someone who complements those. Even with Rachel and I doing this podcast, I mean, there are things that she is strong at that I am weak at, and vice versa. And I think that's why we make a great team. Mm-hmm. So if you are an introvert, you can team up with someone who has those extroverted skills that you lack. Any business needs a good balance of perspectives and talent. And so this is where bringing in a business partner who can assist in that way can make a big difference. Or if you hate giving sales pitches and prefer to do the background analysis, find someone who complements your skill set with their own inclinations. You can hire an employee. If you're not looking to bring on a full-fledged business partner, hire some salespeople who can do those sales pitches for you. Allocate tasks based on each person's strengths, then work together to divide and conquer. The same approach can trickle down to your team. If you have employees who thrive in customer-facing roles, let them take over the cash register while your introverted folks stock shelves or manage inventory. Creating a balance of introversion and extroversion can help leverage strengths and enhance the overall success of your venture. This has been really important to me in my business, in that I do try to assess people's personality and strengths and put them in a role where they can thrive. I think that is critical. It's not really the subject of today's podcast per se, but we mentioned it, and I think it's important, and it helps with business growth, is to just assessing where people are comfortable. At Bolts Legal, we do a lot of videos, and I know that the people I can call on in the firm who are ready to jump up and get in a video at any moment. And then I know there's four of us. Yeah. There's four of us. And then I know the others who are like, get that camera away from me at all costs. I'm not I'm not so much as like taking a group photo in front of the sign. Like they don't, that is pushing it for them. So, finding the people who enjoy that kind of stuff is gonna be great to building the business and keeping happy employees, because they're doing what they're comfortable with and what they enjoy.
And that kind of leads right into the next tip, is to create a comfortable work environment. And that is for yourself and for your employees who are working in those specific roles. So tailor your workplace to suit your introverted preferences. You can incorporate quiet zones, you can have soothing elements, and a setup that allows you to work effectively and comfortably. And some businesses are excellent at doing this, especially companies that, their primary role is creativity. They'll have those creativity rooms, and they'll have those rooms that have, fountains and essential oils going, because they want to make that person who more than likely is introverted as comfortable as possible, so they can thrive in their zone.
And prioritizing your alone time and your self-care is also important, because as an introvert, you're recharging in that alone time. Make that a priority. I know sometimes we may feel guilty that we need to be busy all the time as a business owner, that if I'm not being productive, then I'm not bringing value. And for an introvert, you have to have a mindset shift to say that my alone time, where I'm not necessarily being productive every second, is going to allow me to be more productive in the time that I delegate for that. So don't feel any type of negative emotion about setting aside that alone time to recharge. It is necessary for you to be your best self the rest of the time.
Plan and prepare as well. Leverage your introspective nature by thoroughly planning and preparing for meetings, presentations, and important conversations. Being well prepared boosts your confidence, and that kind of goes hand in hand with what you were speaking about earlier when you go and do these big speaking engagements.
Absolutely. When I go to court, I prepare my outline, and then my drive there, I plan to go at least an hour in advance, and the whole time in the car, I'm rehearsing my argument over and over and over, speaking it out loud. And I think that has really helped in my success in the courtroom, because if you don't do that, you tend to stumble over your words sometimes, or be looking for a piece of paper, or just if your argument isn't smooth and perfected when you're in the courtroom, you can lose the court's attention, and any little error can cause them to just be swayed in a different direction. So you really want to have everything prepared well going in, and that's been critical to my success and also critical to my comfort level when I'm presenting in front of people.
I've never actually been on that side of the courthouse, but I have watched a ton of Law and Order episodes growing up, and I noticed that it was pretty much whoever could tell the best story, whoever had the most polished story with the best points, and could really drive home, the message of what they were trying to say. Those are the ones that had the best closing arguments. So I don't know if that's like how it is in real life or not, but
I think so, because when you're talking to a jury, particularly in a trial, you are needing to capture their attention. You're needing to tell your story in a convincing way. And yes, stories are persuasive to people, but stories don't usually just come out of the air. They're things you have to think about and plan for, and be ready to not just tell the story, but tell it in the most persuasive way, using the best imagery and the right tone of voice, and doing the right hand gestures, and just doing everything along with the story. And no matter how great of a lawyer you may be, rehearsing and planning and preparing those things are going to make you more effective.
Another thing, in addition to planning and preparing, is to delegate wisely. Recognize that you can't do everything on your own, and this is for anyone. Delegate tasks that don't align with your strengths to team members or professionals that excel in these areas. This is kind of like what we were talking about earlier with hire your salesperson. If you're introverted and that is not your gift, don't just delegate that to someone that it is their gift, so you can focus on the strategy and the things that are really important that you as the introvert excel at.
Also, practice public speaking. And this doesn't mean that you have to just go jump in front of an audience of 500 people, but even like Rachel was saying, joining a networking group like BNI where she has to present the business in 1 minute each week. Another tip for building business as an introvert is to practice public speaking. This doesn't mean you have to go jump in front of an audience of 500 people, but take baby steps and start practicing by doing things like joining a networking group like Rachel suggested, where each week she shares just for 1 minute about her business. The Chamber of Commerce usually allows you to give presentations about your business if you're a member of the chamber. Other small group settings, even Zoom calls or just other small group atmospheres where you can share short presentations about your business, even using a PowerPoint is helpful to keep you on track and give you an outline and help you feel more comfortable about where you're going next in your speaking, public speaking. All of these things can help you to boost your confidence and help you to get stronger at your public speaking skills.
The more you do something, the more comfortable it becomes and the more naturally it flows as well. So one thing that I did to help me was, especially in preparation for the BNI meetings, because for a few months, I was just completely petrified every time my minute would come up. So I started practicing with my kids. I would have my kids sit down and I would do either my weekly presentation or my 10-minute presentation or some other type of presentation I was doing, and I would have them critique me, and I would have like a checklist of things for them to look at. So not just in terms of, how well I spoke, but in terms of my body language. Did I make eye contact? Did I scan the room? Was I using the right kind of gestures, or did I not know what to do with my hands? Things of that nature that I could really benefit from having a outside perspective on. So not only was I getting the practice out of it, but I was also getting very honest feedback from my children, who had no problem telling me if something stunk or not.
Oh, my kids, every time they hear one of our Miss Biz jingles, they go, cringe, cringe, gross, every time. So that's the feedback that I get from my kids. But, you can't make everybody happy. If you can make your kids happy, then that's a feat.
Yes.
I videotape myself practicing for speeches, because one thing that I recognize is I don't smile enough. And I don't realize that until I see it on video, and I think I look really angry. I'm not angry, but it's just my face looks angry because that's my natural, my resting face is an unhappy looking face. So, when I videotape myself, I realize that, and it makes me aware that I need to smile more. So these are just ways to practice your skills and improve upon them.
And then the last tip that we have is to seek professional development. Invest in courses or workshops that focus on networking, communication, and leadership skills. So some of these courses could be a Toastmasters club. Brooke, I know that you're in several mentoring programs as well.
Yes, I love me some mentors. I've been a part of a number of different training courses, and I found value in all of them. But in this particular topic we're talking about today, growing in your what we call self-mastery, overcoming your fears, and then growing in your influence mastery, which is being comfortable in speaking with people. The Unblinded program is probably the most effective program that I have participated in and still do. What makes it so effective is not just the training itself, which is super valuable, but so many times we go to these training sessions or these conferences and we hear the information, but if we're not practicing it, then we're not gaining those skills ourselves. And what Unblinded provides is a daily deep practice session that's available to all its members, where you can log in on a Zoom call and practice these skills with the other members. And for so long, I never did it because I was just afraid of not being skillful enough at it. And eventually I went to an unblinded conference and realized I've been a part of this program now for a year and a half, and my skills haven't improved all that much. And it's because I wasn't practicing. I wasn't going to the deep practice session. So this go around, when my membership renewed, I committed to going to the deep practice session several times a week. And I've been doing that, just pushing myself to get out of my comfort zone and go out there and sometimes mess up and look bad. But the feedback that I get from the other students, and just the exercise of practicing it several times a week. I don't go every day, but a few times a week. I've already noticed a great improvement in my speaking and influence skills.
Practice makes perfect with anything, and we can sit here and we can learn and conceptualize and understand everything that's being said to us, but until we actually put that into practice, into reality, and make it happen, that's when it starts to become a habit, and that's when it really transforms your life and becomes more natural, and it's not something that you're fighting against so hard. Don't get me wrong, there might always be a little bit of feeling uncomfortable in certain situations, but sometimes that is a good thing. Having that pressure is something that will give you energy. Kind of having a little bit of those nerves in some regard, in a balance, I feel is okay.
And one thing that just reminded me of is Sean Callagy, the founder of Unblinded, in his last conference I attended, said that he is actually an introvert.
That's so interesting to me because I see him on stage and he is in front of sometimes thousands of people. I would never think that I would just always assume that he was extroverted just because of the way that he interacts with people and the crowd, and how he can just go into a seminar and speak for 12 hours straight without even taking a break.
After he shared that he was an introvert, I realized that when he comes off stage, he disappears. And I think that's because he needs his downtime to recharge. He will stay on stage for hours and hours with no breaks whatsoever. I mean, the last conference I went to, some of his sessions went until 1 a.m.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, he has energy like none other. But he also, when he's not on stage, he has to have that alone time to recharge. And I never would have guessed, just like you, that he was an introvert, because he does seem so comfortable in front of people, both, you know, and he's been a personal mentor and coach of mine on an individual basis too. So I know him in the on-stage presence and also on the in-person friend level presence. And he is so comfortable in both settings that never would I have guessed that he was an introvert. But he is. So that's just another success story of how introverts can use your strengths to your advantage, but also overcome your weaknesses by working on personal and self-development to strengthen those skills that maybe aren't naturally so easy for you.
So remember, your introversion is an asset that can contribute to your entrepreneurial journey in many meaningful different ways. By staying true to yourself, you embrace your natural tendencies and strategically you adapt so that you can achieve more than just pretending to be someone that you're not. And you can achieve that success on your own terms.
So we want to hear from you. If you're an introvert, and we're not hating on extroverts today, by the way, like extroverts, we all know that you are awesome in business, especially when it comes to rainmaking and bringing in sales and building business. But because introverts tend to feel like they aren't enough or aren't good at business, we wanted to really dispel that myth and try to build up introverts today. And most people, frankly, have some characteristics of both sides. So we hope that this episode relates to you, whether you identify mostly as an extrovert or mostly as an introvert. So we'd like to invite you to participate in our Miss Biz Connects. It is a Zoom call we're doing weekly on Fridays at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. The Zoom link can be found on any social media platform. We also have an Eventbrite link that you can search for. If you register for the free event on Eventbrite, it will send you the link for the Zoom call and send you reminders as well. So if you come and participate in Miss Biz Connects, we want to hear things from you like, are you an introvert or an extrovert? How are you adapting your entrepreneurial efforts to your personality strengths? Share your thoughts and experiences on how you've adapted to your introversion.
We want to create a community of business owners where we can share tips and strategies to be successful. And another important aspect of why we did this podcast episode is because we don't want anybody to feel like because they're an introvert that they can't be successful in business, because that's not true at all. Anyone can be successful if they put the right amount of effort in. So please join us on our Miss Biz Connect session on Friday. We'd love to connect with you and for us to just continue to encourage one another and help build each other up. And thank you, Nick, for today's podcast episode idea. If you have any episode ideas that you would like us to discuss, we would love to hear from you. So thank you so much, and stay tuned for more insightful episodes. We appreciate you and are honored to be on this journey with you. We can't wait to help you, to encourage you, and show you how to grow personally, professionally, and spiritually.
If you found Miss Biz helpful, please leave a review and share with others.
You can follow us on social media at Miss Biz Podcast.
For legal questions or services, please visit boltslegal.com.
And for digital marketing needs, please visit boltsmedia.com. Let's get biz done.